Hi, this is Adrienne. In this video we're going to discuss prime factorization. And prime factorization is when we find all the prime numbers that multiply together in a given number's product. It's like finding the building blocks of a given number. So all numbers, except for number 1, which is special, are either prime or composite, and all composite numbers are made up of prime numbers. So when we do the prime factorization, basically what we're doing is finding the ingredients of that number. What is that number made of? If we think about it in terms of chemistry, the formula for water is H2O. So water is chemically composed of 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen. Or is it atoms? In any case, water is made out of hydrogen and oxygen. So when we're looking at prime factorization, we're breaking down a number and saying, okay, what is this number made of? So let's start with 8, for example. We're going to do the prime factorization for number 8. So we need to make a factor tree. We're going to break down the number 8, and we're going to say, okay, what two numbers multiply together to give us 8? And remember, we're not going to use number 1 because 1 is special. Well, 2 times 4 is 8. And then we ask, is either of those numbers prime? Well, the number 2 is prime, so we'll circle it. But 4 can be broken down further. 2 times 2 is what gives us 4. And 2 is prime, so we'll circle those. And once we get to the point where we can't break down the number any further, we see what we have circled, and those are the prime factors. So we know that 8 equals 2 times 2 times 2. Or we can say that 8 equals 2 to the third. Let's look at another example. Here we have the number 45. We'll break that down with a factor tree. What are two numbers multiplied together to give us 45? Well, 5 times 9. And is either of those a prime number? 5 is a prime number, but 9 we can break down further. 9 we can break down to 3 times 3. And 3 is a prime number, so we'll circle those. So 45 equals 3 times 3 times 5. Or we can abbreviate it by writing 3 squared times 5. And that's the prime factorization of 45. Let's try one more here, 105. So we want to figure out what are two numbers that multiply together to give us 105. If we don't know off the top of our heads what numbers multiply to give us 105, we can use the rules and the test for divisibility. So if we notice that 105 ends in 5, we know it's divisible by 5, because any number that ends in 0 or 5 is divisible by 5. So we know that 5 times some number equals 105. And in order to figure out what that other number is, we can divide. 105 divided by 5 is 21. So 5 times 21 is what gives us 105. And then we ask, is either of those numbers a prime number? 5 is a prime number. What about 21? Well, 21 is not prime. We can break it down to 3 times 7. And both 3 and 7 are primes. So we can circle those. So now we know that 105 equals 3 times 5 times 7. And that is the prime factorization for 105. Prime factorization is something that's important, and we're going to be using it for our work with fractions.